He walked past her like everyone else. Dirty clothes, shaking hands, eyes hidden under tangled hair. Just another beggar, invisible to the world. But then she whispered something, not in any human language, and the air around him burned. He stopped because somehow he understood her, and in that moment, he realized something impossible. He had just ignored the most powerful being on the planet. Rain fell like a quiet punishment over the city. Not heavy, not loud, just enough to make everything feel cold and tired. Eli walked through it with his head down, shoulders tight, boots splashing through shallow water. Neon lights flickered above him, reflecting on the wet streets like broken colors. Screens shouted ads. Drones buzzed past. People rushed by without looking at each other. No one ever did. The city didn't stop. It didn't care. And neither did Eli. Not anymore. He wasn't always like this. Once he used to notice things. Small things. People. Faces. Stories. But life had a way of wearing that out of him. Now he just moved forward. Work. Eat. Sleep. Repeat. Nothing more. Nothing else mattered. As he turned into a narrow street, the noise of the main road faded. Fewer lights. Fewer people. Just shadows and the soft sound of rain hitting metal walls. That's when he saw her. Or almost didn't. She sat near the edge of the street, half hidden beside a broken wall. An old woman. Thin. Still. Wrapped in torn cloth that barely protected her from the cold rain. Her hair was long and tangled, covering most of her face. Her hand shook slightly in her lap. No sign. No voice asking for help. Just there. People passed her by without slowing down. One man stepped around her like she was trash on the ground. A woman pulled her child closer and walked faster. No one looked at her. No one wanted to. Something about her felt wrong. Not dangerous. Just wrong. Eli noticed that. Only for a second. Then he looked away. Not his problem. He kept walking. Step. 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 Sa Wiener Ithra and El Koran. The voice was soft. Weak. But it cut through everything. Eli stopped. His foot froze mid-step. His breath caught slightly in his throat. That wasn't normal. He slowly turned his head. The old woman hadn't moved. But he knew. She had spoken. And somehow he understood it. His heart began to beat faster. That wasn't possible. It wasn't any language he knew. It wasn't even close. But the meaning was clear in his mind. Not heard, not translated. Felt. You still hear us after all this time. Eli frowned, confusion rising like a sudden wave. What? He looked around quickly. No one else reacted. No one stopped. The city kept moving like nothing had happened. Had he imagined it? No. No, he was sure. He heard it, and he understood it. That was the part that scared him. Eli slowly turned his body back toward her. Rain ran down his face, but he didn't blink. The old woman lifted her head just a little. For the first time, he saw her eyes, and everything inside him tightened. They weren't normal. They weren't weak or dull like he expected. They were sharp, old, deep, like they had seen things far beyond this broken city. For a brief second, something flickered inside them. Not light, not exactly. Something alive. Eli took a small step back without thinking. His mind tried to make sense of it. Maybe she was just crazy. Maybe he was tired. Maybe, you heard me. This time, the voice was clearer. Still soft. Still strange. But again, he understood. Perfectly. Eli's chest felt tight. That's not, he muttered under his breath. That's not real. The woman's lips barely moved, but her gaze stayed locked on him. Not begging. Not weak. Watching. Studying. As if he was a strange one. As if he didn't belong here. You shouldn't, she whispered again. The words echoed inside his mind. You shouldn't be able to understand. Eli's heartbeat grew louder in his ears. Rain. Distant footsteps. A drone passing above. Everything else faded. Only her voice remained. Only her eyes. How are you doing that? Eli asked, his voice low, unsure. No answer. The woman slowly lowered her head again, like the moment had passed. like she had already said too much. Eli stood there, frozen. He could walk away, just like everyone else. Pretend nothing happened. Go back to his empty routine. But his feet didn't move. Because something deep inside him, something he thought was gone, had just woken up. Curiosity, fear, and something else. Something he couldn't explain. He looked at her again. Really looked this time. Not as a shadow. Not as a stranger. But as a question. And that question refused to let him go. Eli took a slow step toward her. Then another. Rain continued to fall. The city continued to ignore. But in that small, forgotten corner, something impossible had just begun. And Eli knew one thing for certain now. This was no ordinary beggar. And whatever she was, he had already made a mistake. By walking past her the first time, Eli moved closer, slowly, like he was stepping towards something he did not understand. The rain tapped softly against the ground, but now it felt louder. Every sound felt sharper. The world around him seemed to fade, leaving only that small space between him and the old woman. She didn't move away. She didn't ask for help. She just watched him. As he got closer, Eli could see her face more clearly now. Wrinkled skin, pale lips, thin cheeks. But her eyes, they were wrong. A faint glow lived inside them. Not bright, not like fire. Something deeper, something ancient. It made his chest feel tight. It made his instinct scream at him to step back. But he didn't. "Who are you?" Eli asked, his voice low, careful. The woman tilted her head slightly, studying him. Not like a stranger. Like someone remembering something old. Something important. Then she spoke again. This time, the words came clearer, slower. "Humans forgot us," she said. A small pause. Her eyes held his. "But you didn't." Eli shook his head immediately. No, that's not true," he said quickly. "I don't know what you're talking about." His voice sounded stronger than he felt. Inside, something was already breaking, because a part of him, a small, quiet part, felt like she was right. "I don't remember anything," he added, more firmly this time. "You got the wrong person." The woman didn't argue. She didn't get angry. She simply raised one weak hand, slowly, carefully, like even that small movement cost her strength. Eli watched closely, confused, uneasy. Then a tiny spark appeared, just for a second. A flicker of orange light danced at the tip of her fingers. Small, fragile, but real. Eli's breath stopped. The spark vanished as quickly as it came, like it was never there. But he saw it. He knew he saw it. He stumbled back a step, eyes wide. He whispered. "That's not possible." The woman lowered her hand, her body shaking slightly now. "Weak," she murmured. Her voice sounded tired, more tired than before. Eli stared at her, his mind racing. Fire. From nothing. No device. No tech. No trick. That was real, he said, almost to himself. The woman looked at him again, and for the first time, there was something like sadness in her eyes. "I am not human," she said quietly. The words hit harder than he expected. Simple, clear, final. Eli let out a small, nervous laugh. No, you're just," he struggled to find the words. "You're sick, or using some kind of hidden tech, or something. People don't just." "I am older than your cities," she interrupted softly. Eli went silent. "I am older than your machines." Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "I existed before your kind ruled this world." The air felt colder. Eli's heart beat faster. He wanted to walk away. He should walk away. Nothing about this made sense. Nothing about this was safe. But he couldn't move. "Then what are you?" he asked quietly. The woman opened her mouth to answer, then suddenly froze. Her eyes shifted past him. Sharp, alert, different. Eli noticed it immediately. "What is it?" he asked. She didn't respond. For the first time since he met her, fear appeared on her face. Real fear. Her body tensed. Her breathing grew uneven. "No," she whispered. Eli turned. At first he saw nothing. Just the empty, wet street behind him. Then heavy footsteps. Slow, controlled, from the shadows at the end of the street. Figures began to appear, tall, covered in dark armor. Not normal armor. This was advanced, smooth, almost alive with faint glowing lines running across it. Their helmets hid their faces completely. Their movements were too perfect, too precise. Like machines, but not quite. Eli's stomach dropped. There were 5 of them, spreading out, blocking exits, scanning the area, looking for something or someone. The woman grabbed Eli's sleeve suddenly. Her grip was weak, but urgent. "They found me," she whispered. Gone was the calm voice. Gone was the strange confidence. Now she sounded desperate. Eli looked at her, shocked. "You know them?" he asked. "They are not hunters," she said quickly. "They are collectors." A chill ran through him. What does that mean? Her eyes locked onto his. And for the first time, there was no mystery in them. Only truth. "They will not let me live." Eli's chest tightened. Behind him, one of the armored figures turned its head, as if it had sensed something. A faint red light scanned across the street. Closer, closer. Eli's breathing slowed. His mind raced. This wasn't his fight. He didn't know her. He didn't understand any of this. He could still walk away, blend into the crowd, forget everything, just like always. But then, he looked down at her, at the shaking hands, at the fear in her eyes, at the being who claimed to be older than the world, now sitting helpless in the rain. And something inside him made a choice. A quiet one, but final. Eli looked back at the approaching figures, then at her. "Can you walk?" he asked. She hesitated, then gave a small, weak nod. Eli took a slow breath. "Then we're leaving." Behind them, the armored agents moved closer, faster now, because whatever they were hunting, they were about to find it. "Then we're leaving." Eli didn't wait for her answer. He pulled her gently to her feet. She almost collapsed, her legs weak under her. For a second, he thought she wouldn't be able to stand at all. But she tried, and that was enough. "Lean on me," Eli said quickly. She did. Her weight was light, too light, like there was barely anything left of her. Behind them, the armored agent stepped forward. One of them raised its arm. A faint red beam scanned across the ground, getting closer. "Move," Eli whispered. Then they ran. The narrow streets twisted like a maze. Dark alleys, broken paths, flickering lights. Eli moved fast, guiding her through every turn he knew. His boots splashed through puddles as rain kept falling, making everything slippery. The woman struggled to keep up. Her breathing was uneven. Her steps were slow. Twice, she nearly fell. Each time, Eli tightened his grip and kept her moving. "They're coming," he said under his breath. "I know," she replied weakly. Behind them, heavy footsteps echoed, closer than before. Too close. They were fast, faster than normal humans. Eli turned a corner sharply, pulling her with him. "Who are they?" he asked, his voice tense. No answer. "Why are they hunting you?" he pressed. Still nothing. Only the sound of her breathing. Then, "They fear what I am." Her voice was soft but clear. Eli glanced at her. "What are you?" he asked again. A pause. Then she said it. "I am a dragon queen." Eli almost stopped running. "What?" he said, breathless. "That's not." "The last of my kind," she continued. No hesitation. No doubt. Just truth. Eli shook his head as he kept moving. No, that's impossible. Dragons aren't real. They're stories. Old myths. "They were real," she said. "They ruled the skies long before your cities rose." They turned into another alley. Narrower, darker. "Then what happened?" Eli asked. He didn't know why he was still listening. But he was. "Humans happened," she said quietly. There was no anger in her voice. Only something colder. "Your kind feared us. Our power. Our knowledge." Her steps slowed again. Eli almost had to drag her now. "So you destroyed us." Eli's chest tightened. "That doesn't make sense," he said. "If dragons were that powerful, how could humans?" "Betrayal," she said. One word. Heavy. "They learned from us, then turned against us." A loud metallic sound echoed behind them. Closer now. Eli didn't look back. Why are you still alive then? He asked. I ran, she said, until there was nowhere left to run. They reached the end of the alley. Blocked. A dead end. Eli stopped suddenly. No, he whispered. He turned around quickly. The agents were there, standing at the entrance of the alley. Silent. Still. Watching. Eli's heart pounded in his chest. No escape. No way out. The woman slipped from his grip and fell to her knees, too weak to stand anymore. It's over, she whispered. Eli stepped in front of her without thinking, his hands clenched. He didn't have a weapon, didn't have a plan, just instinct. One of the agents raised its arm again. This time, a small drone detached from its shoulder. It hovered into the air with a sharp mechanical hum. Its red eye locked onto them. Eli's breath slowed. This is bad, he muttered. The drone moved forward. Fast. Too fast to outrun. The woman looked up at it. Her eyes flickered again. That same strange light. But weaker now. Fading. No, she whispered. Not enough strength. The drone charged. A sharp sound built inside it, like energy gathering. Eli stepped forward. He knew it wouldn't help, but he couldn't just stand there. Then the woman raised her hand. Slow, shaking, barely lifting into the air. Go, she whispered to Eli. He didn't move. I said go. Her voice cracked. And then, fire. Not a spark, not a flicker. An explosion of pure flame burst from her hand. Bright, violent, alive. It shot forward and struck the drone midair. Boom. The alley lit up in orange light. The drone shattered instantly. Pieces falling to ground in burning fragments. The sound echoed through the narrow walls. Then silence. Eli stood frozen, his eyes wide, his mind blank. That, he whispered, that was real. There was no denying it now. No logic to explain it. No excuse left. She was telling the truth. Every word. Slowly, Eli turned toward her. She was on the ground. Collapse. Her hand dropped lifelessly to her side. The glow in her eyes fading. No! Eli rushed to her side. Hey, stay with me. She didn't respond. Her breathing was weak. Too weak. Like it could stop at any moment. Eli's chest tightened with fear. Not fear of the agents. Not fear of the impossible. But fear of losing her. How can this, he muttered. You're supposed to be powerful. A dragon queen. A ruler of the skies. A being humans once feared. And now, she looked like she was dying in his arms. Footsteps approached again. Slow. Heavy. The agents were moving in. Unstoppable. Eli looked up. Then back at her. His jaw tightened. His decision was already made. But now, it mattered more than ever. Because the question was no longer just about escape. It was about something far more impossible. Can a god like being really die like this? Eli didn't think. He acted. He lifted her carefully into his arms. She felt lighter than before, like her strength was slipping away with every second. The alley was no longer safe. The agents were too close. We have to move, he whispered. No response. Her head rested against his shoulder, her breathing faint and uneven. Eli stepped out of the alley, turning quickly into another dark path. He knew this area. Old buildings, broken structures, places no one used anymore, places no one checked. Behind him, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed again. They were still coming, always coming. Eli pushed forward, his legs burning, his arms tightening around her. Rain soaked both of them, but he didn't stop. Not now, not anymore. After what felt like forever, he found it, an abandoned building. Tall, cracked, empty. The entrance was half broken, hanging open like a wound. Eli rushed inside. Darkness swallowed them. The noise of the city faded instantly. Only silence remained. He moved deeper inside, stepping over broken glass and fallen metal, until he found a corner hidden from any outside view. Carefully, he lowered her to the ground. Stay with me, he said, his voice tight. Her eyes slowly opened. The faint glow inside them flickered weakly. You should have left me, she whispered. Eli shook his head. Yeah, well, I didn't. He sat beside her, trying to steady his breathing. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Only the sound of distant rain filled the silence. Then she looked at him, really looked at him. "Why?" she asked softly. Eli didn't answer right away, because he didn't have one. Not a clear one. He just knew walking away felt wrong. "You said it yourself," he muttered. Not all humans forgot. Something shifted in her expression. Not quite a smile, but close. For a brief second, the fear in her eyes softened. Then she closed them again, gathering what little strength she had left. "Long ago," she began slowly, her voice weak but steady. "Dragons and humans lived together." Eli listened, didn't interrupt, didn't question. "Not this time. We were not enemies," she continued. "We shared this world." Her breathing grew heavier. "We gave knowledge, fire, power. We help your kind grow." Eli frowned slightly. "And you trust the humans?" he asked. "Yes." One simple word, full of weight, too much. A long pause followed. The air felt heavier. "They feared us," she said. "Not because we harmed them, but because we could." Her fingers tightened slightly against the ground. Fear turns to hate, and hate turns to betrayal. Eli lowered his gaze. "They learned everything we gave them, then used it against us." Her voice cracked slightly. "The skies burn, not with our fire, but there's—" Silence filled the room again. Eli didn't know what to say. He didn't know if any of it was true. But after what he had seen, he couldn't deny it anymore. "I was a queen," she said quietly. Eli looked at her. "A ruler, my kind. Strong, feared, respected." Her eyes opened again. But now, there was no power in them, only memory. "And now?" Eli asked softly. She didn't answer right away. Then finally, "I am the last." The words echoed in the empty building. Heavy, lonely, final. Eli felt something twist inside his chest. He looked at her differently now, not as something powerful, not as something dangerous, but as someone who had lost everything. She turned her head slightly toward him. "Humans forgot honor," she said. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "But maybe not all." Eli looked away, because those words hit harder than anything else. He clenched his fists. His mind started racing again. This was too much, too dangerous, too big. These weren't just random hunters. They were organized, powerful, relentless, and they were coming here. For her, for a dragon queen. And now, for him too. He could still leave. Right now. Slip out the back. Disappear. Go back to his old life. Safe. Alone. Forget all of this ever happened. His breathing slowed. His heart pounded. He looked at her again. At the weak rise and fall of her chest. At the fading glow in her eyes. At the being who once ruled the skies. Now, barely holding on to life. Outside, a faint sound. Footsteps. Closer. Eli's head snapped toward the entrance. They found them. Of course they did. His jaw tightened. This was it. His choice. Walk away or stand. Eli closed his eyes for a second, then opened them again. Clear, focused, decided. He stood up slowly, turned toward the entrance, then spoke. "You're not dying here." His voice was calm, but firm. No doubt, no hesitation. Behind him, the Dragon Queen watched, and for the first time, there was something new in her eyes. Not fear, not pain, something stronger, something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope, because one human had chosen to stand, and outside, powerful forces were about to find out what that truly meant. The building shook as heavy footsteps surrounded it, slow, controlled, unstoppable. Eli stood near the broken entrance, his body tense, his hands empty. Behind him, the Dragon Queen lay weak against the cold floor, barely able to move. There was no escape now, only a choice. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then a figure stepped inside. Tall, covered in dark armor, face hidden behind a smooth helmet glowing faint red. More figures appeared behind him, spreading out, blocking every exit. They had them. The leader tilted his head slightly, then spoke. A cold, mechanical voice filled the room. "Step aside." Eli didn't move. The creature does not belong to you. Eli's jaw tightened. She's not a creature, he said. A pause. Then, step aside, the voice repeated, or you will be removed. Eli let out a slow breath. His heart was pounding hard. His legs felt heavy. But he didn't step back. No, one simple word. But it echoed through the broken building. The agents didn't hesitate. One of them raised its arm. A weapon formed from an armor, glowing, humming with energy. Then they attacked. A blast of energy shot forward. Eli reacted on instinct. He dove to the side, the blast hitting the wall behind him, sending dust and debris into the air. He rolled, grabbed a broken metal pipe from the ground, and stood again. He wasn't trained. He wasn't strong. But he didn't run. Another agent moved in fast. Too fast. Eli swung the pipe. It hit the armor with sharp metallic sound, but did almost nothing. The agent struck back. Hard. Eli was thrown across the floor, crashing into a broken wall. Pain exploded through his body. He gasped for air, struggling to move. Everything hurt. Everything screamed at him to stop. But he didn't. He forced himself up again, step by step, slow, unsteady, but standing. The agents paused for a second, almost confused. This wasn't normal. Humans didn't do this. They didn't keep getting up. The leader stepped forward. "You are weak," he said. Eli wiped blood from his mouth. "Yeah," he muttered. "Maybe." Another step forward. "But I'm still here." The agents moved again. This time, faster, stronger. Eli tried to block, but another strike hit him. He fell again, harder this time. His vision blurred. His body barely responded. Behind him, the Dragon Queen watched. At first, she saw only a human. Fragile, limited, weak, fighting a battle he could not win. But then, she saw something else. He stood again. Even now, even broken, even bleeding, he stood, not because he could win, not because he was strong, but because he chose to. Something inside her shifted, deep, ancient, not fear, not anger, something she had not felt in centuries. Hope. Her breathing changed, stronger, faster. The faint glow in her eyes returned, brighter, warmer, alive. The air around her began to tremble. Eli dropped to one knee as another hit landed. He could barely see now, barely think, but he still tried to rise, still tried to stand. And that was enough. Behind him, power awakened, real power. The Dragon Queen slowly rose. Her body lifted from the ground, supported by something unseen. Her eyes burned like fire now, bright, intense, endless. Energy moved around her like a storm. The room darkened. The air grew heavy. The agents turned. For the first time, they reacted, not with control, but with hesitation. The leader stepped back. "Impossible," he said. The Dragon Queen lifted her head, and when she spoke, her voice was no longer weak. It was ancient, powerful, unstoppable. "You should have let me die." The ground beneath them cracked. The building shook violently, because now flames ignited around her, not small, not weak, but massive, alive. "You reminded me what I am." Her form began to change, not fully, but enough. Her silhouette grew larger. Wings of burning light spread behind her. Her presence filled the entire space. The agents raised their weapons, but it was too late. She lifted her hand and unleashed everything. Fire exploded outward like a storm, blinding, destructive, unstoppable. The agents were thrown back, their formation broken instantly. Some crashed through walls. Others retreated, their systems failing. Even the leader stumbled back. "Retreat," he ordered. For the first time, they ran. Within seconds, they were gone. The building fell silent again. Only the soft crackle of fading fire remained. Eli lay on the ground, barely conscious. The Dragon Queen stood above him, her power slowly fading. Her form returned to normal. The fire disappeared. The storm ended. She stepped toward him slowly, then knelt beside him. For a moment, she just looked at him, not as a human, not as something small, but as something more, something rare, something powerful in a different way. You reminded me, she said softly. Her voice was calm again. Why we once trusted your kind. Eli opened his eyes slightly. He tried to speak, but couldn't. She placed a hand gently near him, not to harm, but to protect. The world outside was still dangerous, still broken, but something had changed. She looked toward the open sky, then back at him. She could leave, disappear, rise again, rule again, but she didn't. Instead, she stayed, hidden, not alone anymore, because now she had something she thought was lost forever, a human who chose to stand. And Eli was no longer just a man in a cold city. He was the one who stood beside a dragon queen,